Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you are doing well, and welcome to your latest Forest news. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the cold, hard facts and the reality of the current Nottingham Forest situation in the Premier League. We're going to look at how Forest are comparing to other teams. Is it time for a change? Look, I said on the fan forum yesterday where I am. I've slept on it. Nothing has changed in my mind. If anything, I'm more set on my way of thinking. If you haven't seen the fan forum, go check it out from last night. There was loads of guests on who had some really valid opinions, both on Cooper in and on Cooper out. But let me know down below, which way are you currently sitting, and are you happy with what you're seeing on the pitch? In today's video, I'm not looking to sway anyone one way or the other. I'm just going to present some facts of where we are and how we're performing currently. So before we get into it, guys, if you like the video, please don't forget to give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. The one good thing to come out of yesterday was we hit 6K subs on this channel, and I can't thank you guys enough for your support. We are, whatever happens, one fan base, one family. Yes, we may have differing opinions, but we are all heading, or want to head, should I say, in the same direction. Finally, from me, don't forget Forest are playing Brighton on Tuesday. It will be aired on Amazon. If you don't have Amazon, there's a link down below for you to go and get a free trial. You'll get 30 days for free. You can cancel it straight away if you want to, and you'll be able to watch the match on Tuesday. And of course, one final thing, we have the Forest Forum tonight. We've got some heavy hitters coming on. We're going to have opinions from all over the place, all different warps of the Forest fan base, and it will start tonight at 8:30 p.m. So make sure you're tuned into that because you won't want to miss it. Let's get on with the video and let's start talking about the cold hard facts. Okay, so let's start with the first thing I want to talk about, which is where teams are having most control over the ball. I got a nice little graphic here for you. Let me just bring it up on the screen. And this will show you anywhere in blue is where a team is controlling the pitch the majority of the time. They will have more than 55% of the total touches in that area in any given match. Anywhere where it's red, it's the same stat but in reverse for the opponent. So if we have a quick look at it, if you have a look at the likes of Man City just here, you can see they're pretty much dominating the whole pitch. Arsenal up at the top there. You look at Villa as well. They've got decent domination into the opponent's half. Chelsea, as you'd expect, all the big teams, Liverpool, etc., are doing well in terms of how they dominate the ball. If you look, and the grey areas, sorry, just to clarify, are areas where it's contested. So it's quite 50-50 in those departments. Now have a look at Nottingham Forest, which is over there. Oh, I can't see it, but if you look on this row at the end, the only areas we are dominating in are in and around the centre of our box. We contest the area in the back right corner. We're getting heavily dominated down our left-hand side. And we're basically dreaming at the moment if we're getting into the opponent's half. In fact, we are not even contesting in our own half all the way up to the halfway line. And this is my first point. This no press from the front tactic that Cooper is using, this retreat and try and be compact because we're leaking too many goals, is not working. We are probably one of the easiest teams you could dream to play against. You really can't ask for any more as an opponent. Then here you go, guys. Shove all of your men behind the ball. And then we're saying to them, try and break us down. And guess what? They are. And you can see as a team, that puts, as an opponent team, that puts no pressure on you whatsoever. Because you know it's very unlikely that Forest are going to counterattack or break away or contest you in your own half. What does that mean? You can play your centre-backs towards the halfway line with no real fear of any repercussions from it. And then eventually, if you sustain enough pressure on Forest, they will crack. We're getting dominated down that left-hand side. We're getting dominated down the right-hand side. And we can only basically punt the ball once we get it in and around the penalty box, in the centre of it as well, which is absolutely damning for me. Look, the only other team that's worse than us when you look at the maps would be the likes of Boringmouth, who only dominate in their own box, but they're making it work and they're getting results. They're playing counter-attacking football and it's working. Southampton as well, just behind me here. They're dominating and contesting in more areas than Nottingham Forest are. The only place we contest in the opponent's half tends to be down the left-hand side, the likes of Lodi, overlapping, etc. You can see down the right-hand side, we are struggling. Nico Williams isn't overlapping. Brennan Johnson has been basically ineffective this year. And there is no play through the middle of Forest, through the opponent's half from a Forest perspective. So take those stats in. There's so much you can derive from this. There's so much you can derive for it. But just focus on that blue area and where that red area is. And you can just see the choke it's causing around us. That image to me just shows a choke. Two-pronged attack either side. Defense and the midfield of the opponents high up against us and just choking us and compacting us into that area. And then we're cracking. Let me know your thoughts on this fact. And the reason this is a problem is two things. It's coming from the manager. One, the team selection. Because he is choosing Cook and McKenna. But McKenna, I don't mind too much. Look, he is slow, but that's part of the problem. But because he is choosing Cook more times than not now, we are building a team around Steve Cook. Instead of looking to build a team around a Freuler or a Morgan Gibbs-White, one of our better players, what we are doing is looking at our weakest link, and instead of not playing him, what we're doing is playing to his strengths, or should we say against his weaknesses. So with Cook, because he has no pace, he cannot leave that space in behind him, and that forces our defense to drop deeper. Then the midfield has to drop, because otherwise you're not getting any passes or fluidity between the team. And then on top of that, the strikers are being, and the attackers are being told to retreat to the halfway line. Why have we stopped pressing from the front? It is my number one bugbearer, gripe, anger creator, whatever you want to call it. By doing that, we are in the Premier League, the hardest league apparently in the world. We are allowing teams to play in 50% of the pitch with complete ease and complete freedom. If Cooper does not get these players to press from the front, you may as well guarantee we're going to lose the game, because it's clear to see against Villa, the team he put out, set to be compact and get a draw. Against Wolves, he was happy to be compact and try and battle out for a 0-0. These are against two of the worst teams in the league. I can understand it against a Man City. I could understand it against an Arsenal. I could understand it against a so-called bigger club, that you want to be compact and then try and hit them on the counter-attack. But when you are playing teams in and around you who, in Wolves' case, had only scored 3 goals in 9 matches in the Premier League, why, oh why, did he think it was okay to play that deep? And on top of that, after 20 minutes, they'd created nothing. Wolves had huffed and puffed with Traore. It's clear to see Traore was the angle they were looking to play the game through. And he wasn't producing any end product. Couldn't cross the ball, couldn't shoot. But why not change the tactics? Maybe you start that for 20 minutes. But Cooper doesn't react to what's happening on the pitch at all. At all. Why didn't he shout at the players to get up the pitch? Look to, stretch the game a bit. Get the front players to close down the Wolves' defense and make it harder for them. He did eventually do it after, as always, we've conceded and gone behind. And guess what? Wolves cracked. We got a penalty. We created a couple of other chances. Their defenders were slicing balls behind for corners. Once you put that pressure on a team, they're only human and they will crack. And we saw that. But it's too reactive. It just felt like a case of the game plan was get a 0-0 at all costs. There was no plan B. Once we went behind, suddenly he started throwing attacking subs on. I was like, yeah, just go do whatever. See what can happen. It just baffles the mind. It baffles the mind. But this is all caused, that possession chart that I showed you is all caused by Steve Cooper and telling the players to play deep because of Cook. And then on top of that, don't press from the front. And it's not on. Okay, so let's move on to the next facts and let's talk about passing percentages and possession percentages as well. As you can see here, Nottingham Forest are the 3rd worst team for passing accuracy in the Premier League, only shy of the likes of Leeds and Southampton behind them, 76.1%. And what causes the lack of passing accuracy for me is 2 things. Most of our pass attempts are long balls because we are pressed so deep. They have no out balls and they force themselves to what? Punt the ball forward, looking for the Hollywood pass, a 40, 50 yard lumped ball forward, and it's not working. It's such a huge difference from the higher teams who are in the 80s and even Man City who reach into the 90s. It's not good enough. And this again comes back from how deep we are playing the back line. So as you can see, only Leeds and Southampton have less passing accuracy than we do. If I then change it into possession for Nottingham Forest is in the lower 40s. We are 15th in the Premier League on possession with 43%. I guarantee if I took out the Spurs match, because Spurs sat back against us, you take that out, I think would be a lot lower down than this is showing. I was shocked to see actually how high we were. But we can change this into home and away. And if you have a look at it here, Nottingham Forest at home, possession-wise, are at 46.9%. When we go away from home, we're at 40% as well. So we're doing slightly better at home than we are away. Look, overall, we've, under Cooper, have always been a non-possession based team, even last season in the Championship. But in the Premier League, you get punished harder when you don't try and get the ball. It's just facts. It's facts that you have to live with and have to understand. So, in terms of passing, not good enough because of the long ball, which is derived from what? From sitting too deep, from no out balls happening, and long balls needing to be punted forward as well. And in terms of possession, we're very low in the stats in terms of how much of the ball we're actually seeing. Just to confirm that point to you, I've got some long ball stats here. As you can see, it's probably one of the highest positions we will be in any table this season. Nottingham Forest are 4th for long balls per game. We have 61 long balls on average per game. The only teams higher than us are Liverpool, Everton and Palace. Bit weird that you'd see Liverpool there, but anyway, whatever. We're here for Forest. Through balls, we average 1 per game. And crosses, we average 16 crosses a game. So, long ball stats, because of how deep, I'm just underlining the facts for you. But let me know what you're thinking about these figures in the comments down below. And just to further talk about our positional stats, last season we were heavily right-sided, should I say, in the way we attack. If you look at it now, we've definitely shifted more of our attack to the left. At the start of the season, I was asking for this for a more balanced approach, but I didn't think it would go that far the other way and would be so ineffective down the right-hand side. 36% of our possessions down the right, 40 is down the left. We are still heavily reliant on playing the ball out wide. When it comes to through the middle, and to do it through the middle, this is where you do require passing, you do require open players, you do require movement, none of which we currently have at the moment. Only 25% of our play is coming through the middle. And probably a lot of that is deep in our own box, in our own half as well. The stats, they're there for you all to make your own opinions on. So I stand corrected. There is actually a stat that Forest are higher in, and that's shots conceded per game. We are averaging at the moment nearly 16 shots against us per game. In the Premier League, if you are going to average at least 16 shots against you, against any of the other 19 teams, you are not going to keep clean sheets. We have had 1 clean sheet this season, and to be honest, we were lucky to get that. Hendo saved a huge penalty against West Ham, made a couple of other saves during that game. That saved us from, that allowed us to have that one stat. Only Everton are worse than us when it comes to shots against per match, but they put in more tackles. They'll get in nearly 19 tackles a game compared to our 15 tackles a game. And as you can see, Bournemouth have 15.6 against them as well, just slightly behind Nottingham Forest. It's no coincidence that you're seeing the teams that are locked away, who are playing defensive football or attempting to play defensive football, who on that graph I showed you towards the start of the video, they're conceding the most shots. Plain and simple, Cooper is not getting it tactically right on the pitch in terms of where our lines are and how the ball is being progressed forward. Let's have a look at it from an attacking perspective, and Forest are the second worst team in the league for shots created per game on goal. This isn't on target, this is just on goal. As you can see, we create 10.7 shots per game, with Bournemouth being the worst at 7.1. However, from those 10.5 shots that we create, only 2.7 on average are on target. It's not good enough. And what does that tell you? And I'm sure you've noticed in any match, we're not creating clear-cut chances. These are half chances, quarter chances, whatever you want to call them, that usually end up with a Nico Williams shot from 30 yards out that he's going to drag high, wide, and ugly, or a Morgan Gibbs-White free kick that's gone flying over the bar. They're not threatening shots when we're creating them. The odd time we create a decent chance is very rare, but we've scored. But let me tell you this, I think we've scored 1 goal from open play in the last 7 matches. All the rest have come from corners or free kicks. This is not working. So defensively, we're not getting it right. Attackingly, we're getting it completely wrong as well. The only way we seem to create any hope of a goal is through a dead ball situation, which at the end of the day is a toss-up, isn't it? Either you've trained well for it, or the chance is created during the match, or whatever. It's all about dead ball situations for us. This is not the football I want to see. I want to see good patterns of play. I want to see chances created that aren't from dead ball situations. And this, for me, is a damning stat. So let's break that down a little further. And as you can see, from open play, from those 10.5 chances per game, 3 of them are created from open play. And they're usually long shots, as I just mentioned a second ago. Here's the big problem, though. Here's the huge problem. If Cooper wants to persist with playing this defensive low block, Sam Allardyce style football, or Houghton style football, whatever you want to call it, then he better damn well get it right on the counter-attack and make sure that we're countering how we did last season. Look, I think Jed Spencer's a huge loss. He had Brennan Johnson up at levels, in my opinion, and we've lost that this season. And it shows in this stat. We are creating, through counter-attacking football, 0 chances. 0. If that's the case, then can someone please in the comments below explain to me why Forest tactics currently are to play low block defense and counter-attack when we're still doing that, creating 0 chances from the counter-attack? It makes no sense. Look, guys, there are so many more stats I could share with you. How many shots in total we've had against. Our yellow cards, I think, are the highest in the Premier League. Positionally, where the players are. We could go on and on for hours. But for me, a couple of things I want to highlight. If we are stuck taking the most touches in our own box, and we are trying to play this counter-attacking football, yet creating 0 chances from it per game, why hasn't Steve Cooper noticed this? And why hasn't he addressed it? And why does he think it's okay to carry on like this? You cannot win a football match if you do not press from the front, attack the defenders, and create chances in open play. We are the 2nd lowest team for chances created in open play per game. All you can hope for in that setup, in that scenario, is getting away with a draw, if you're lucky. And that's boring football. Look, I don't care about the boring football right now. If the results come from boring football, I'm sure boring mouth fans are quite happy with the crap football that they produce on the pitch, but they're getting the results. The problem is, when you play like that and don't get the results, that's when you have the worst of both worlds. These are my thoughts on it. I wanted to share some stuff with you. We'll be on later tonight at 8:30, as I mentioned at the start of the video, with the Forest Forum. It's going to be heated. There's going to be a lot of tough questions asked. You know, on my channel, we don't sit on the fence. We say things how we're thinking because we're fans and we have the right to those opinions. So make sure you're tuned in on it because there's going to be a lot of tough questions asked. If you've enjoyed the video, or maybe not after all those stats, please do hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And don't forget, if you're doing any shopping on Amazon, please do use our links below. Completely free for you to use. Help support the channel. I'll see you tonight at 8:30, and come on you Reds.